Yo, I'm Bob, totally blind since birth into Star Wars, talking about episode 5 of Andor on Disney Plus. Spoilers ahead, watch the episode before listening to my thoughts unless you want to get spoiled. With that being said, I'm getting into the episode now, and you were warned. Man, there was quite a lot of mounting tension in this episode. We get to spend a bit of downtime with the Rebel Cell on Aldhani, so whenever we get the premiere of episode 6, I would imagine the character death scene or two or maybe three, they're going to feel like they've got a bit more weight to them. I'm thinking of Obi-Wan Kenobi in contrast, remembering when Wade made that sacrifice so everyone else could get away. When I watched it the first time, I thought, hey, wait a minute, why am I not feeling anything for this guy? I loved the character reactions after he sacrificed himself so they could escape. But then I went back and watched the episode a couple more times and was like, oh, well, we only got to see him, in a couple scenes and we really didn't know much about this guy. But I still really like that battle scene and the sacrifice. But here in Andor, we are getting to know these guys. We're getting to know their motivations, why some of them are fighting the Empire. And I think it's going to make their death scenes a little bit more real in episode 6. So we get to see Andor and Skeen. Skeen's kind of telling him about his prison tattoos, and they're kind of comparing those. We get to see a later scene in the episode where Skeen reveals that he had a brother who committed suicide because the Empire had come in, they'd taken his farm, they'd taken his livelihood, so bro had nothing left. And I like that bit of dialogue where Skeen says he hated the Empire before, but after the loss of his brother, he didn't know how to describe the way he felt. He didn't know what to call the way he felt. So we get to see a lot of practice because these guys are gearing up to march on the garrison. And so we get to see Andor learning how to march like an Imperial. He doesn't want anybody to be touching him, so he kind of tells Teruman off about that. Cool little scene there, though. And we get to see a really cool TIE fighter flyby. Usually we get to see TIE fighters from the perspectives of guys like Han in the Millennium Falcon, or Luke, or Wedge in the X-Wings. And, they've got shields, they've got laser cannons. And when you're going up against a run-of-the-mill TIE fighter, one shot to a solar panel is pretty much going to put those things out of commission because they don't have shields. You've got to be a really good TIE fighter pilot to pose a threat. Of course, I would imagine everyday civilian freighters and ships and things like that are pretty... the people in them are pretty scared. But these guys are on the ground. They've got blasters. They've got their wits about them, but that's it. So when you hear that howling of the TIE flying over, they really feel more predatory in Andor. And I love that. I love how the TIEs feel a bit more menacing. It really was something I hadn't expected, but really cool TIE flyby scene in this episode and the last episode too. I like that they're concealing themselves. Everyone's like, get out, here comes a TIE, and gotta hide this and that and the other. What else did we get on Aldhani? So we got that one scene with Lieutenant Gorn in the Imperial garrison, and he's talking with his subordinate there on the parapet, according to the descriptive audio narration track. And the guy, he's making wise cracks about, whenever the big show starts, we're probably going to notice that smell of the local Aldhanis from here, or something to that nature. And you hear this ominous swelling in the music. And I remember watching this episode for the first time thinking, what's that about? And of course, later we learn that Gorn, he loved a local woman of Aldhani, and he lost her. And that's why he's helping the rebel cell on Aldhani stick it to the Empire. So going back and watching the episode a second and a third time and thinking about that later scene in hindsight while watching that scene there and noticing that ominous swelling of the music when the guy's making those comments about the local Aldhani, I was kind of thinking, man, I don't know if you realize just how close you're you are to it being pushed off that parapet. Of course, Gorn didn't give in to temptation. He was able to keep his emotions in check there, but now I really do enjoy that scene even more than when I'd first watched it there. At least it sounds like that music is getting kind of ominous. At least to me it does in that scene. What else do we get? So on Coruscant, we see Mon Mothma, and she's having this really tense breakfast argument with her daughter Lita. And yeah, really cool that Lita is a canon character. I remember being in a Hastings in 2003 thereabouts. My buddy and I were reading through the new Essential Guide to Characters. See, back in 2003, we didn't have boatloads of YouTube videos. We had, I don't even think Wikipedia was around in 2003. Somebody correct me on that. I think we got that in, was it late 2004, 2005 or thereabouts? So yeah, we were perusing the new Essential Guide to Characters, and I learned that Mon Mothma had a daughter. I think she was also in, was it a source book of some kind? Dark Empire, maybe? I think another one of my buddies had that. But yeah, cool to see that she's canon in Andor. Hope she makes it out on the other side. I really don't know. I'm having my doubts about this kid. I'm hoping Mon doesn't lose her. But yeah, Lita is accusing Mon of wanting to take her to class, so Mon can score political brownie points. Oh, you're just thinking of yourself, Mom. You're just thinking of your career in the Senate. You don't really want to take me to class. This is all about you, isn't it? And Perrin, Mon's husband, he's not doing anything. I think he's just eating this up. And I get the sense that this marriage, it's not what Mon wants. I don't think their views are politically anyway, aligned. And I think it's causing a great deal of friction. I would imagine it does work out sometimes, but, Mon is obviously doing rebel stuff. And from those comments in the last episode, I think Perrin is more on the Imperial side of things. So this is really taxing for Mon here. So I like that scene. And I also like seeing Dedra again. She's still going with those gut instincts. She's still trying to follow those leads, and her assistant is trying his best to encourage her, even though there doesn't seem to be too many leads. He lets her know, yeah, this is a bit too random here, and she's still following those leads. I like seeing Vledren on Ferrix. He's giving this subordinate of his a hotel, turning it into a headquarters. And this subordinate, he really wants the title of prefect. And Ledrin's like, I don't care what you call yourself. You can wear a ball gown for all I care. Just straighten stuff up around here, man. Get stuff in order. So, yeah, it's about all we see from Bledrin in this episode. We do see him a little bit later, I think, on Coruscant. Dedra sees him in passing. And then this guy's getting around in these episodes. Coruscant to Ferrix and back again. Anything else on Coruscant? Well, I think we do get a scene at the end of the episode, and it's pretty cool. We get to see Luthen in his shop and Clea. And he's having his doubts about this whole operation. And he's wondering if he should be trusting Andor. But Clea's like, well, it's too late to go back now. It's going to be over this time tomorrow. And she's like, I really don't like it when you're nervous. So everybody's feeling it by the end of the episode. I like the bit with Cyril and his mom quite a bit. I like how he's sitting in his room and just looking at that picture of Andor. I cannot wait to see what happens to Cyril later on. I do eventually want to see him maybe getting to know Dedra a little bit. Maybe these two could put their heads together and really give the rebels some grief at some point in Andor. So when it comes to Edie in this episode, we get to see them having a nice little breakfast at the dinner at the breakfast table, I should say. And Cyril's eating this nasty cereal. Apparently he doesn't like it. And somebody on Twitter mentioned that, yeah, this is basically children's cereal. And I'm kind of wondering if she's feeding it to him because she knows he doesn't like it. And then she's just making these comments back and forth like, "You're slouching, Cyril. You might as well have a sign on you that says, 'I'm sorry to disappoint you.'" And I mean, he's just doing what he can to bear it. So I'm thinking maybe when he was small and she was telling him bedtime stories, one might have gone something like, "Do you know why your father isn't around, son? Well, after you were born, he took one look at you and keeled over. Good night." And Cyril was like, "Mama, no." So I don't know. She takes great pleasure in stinging him with her tongue here. And the descriptive audio track describes his cereal as Crunchies. Crunchies, well, I automatically think of my cat's food because that's what most people I know around my neck of the woods call cat food. I hope it doesn't taste like cat food, that cereal there, to poor Cyril. So I wonder who Uncle Harlow is. Apparently, Edie's going to call in a family favor. I wonder if we'll get to see him in live action. I keep imagining Joe Montana's voice in my head. Joe Montana did the voice of Fat Tony in The Simpsons. He's played in all kinds of live action roles, Criminal Minds. I doubt he's going to be in Star Wars, but keep wanting to see Joe at some point in live action or hear him in animation. He's got one great voice when it comes to acting and narration and all that. He's one of my favorite actors. Liked him ever since I listened to Popsy in Nightmares and Dreamscapes by Stephen King back in the 90s. But rabbit chasing aside, what a cool episode this was. And I think the next one, we're going to get quite a lot of action. And of course, things are going to go awry. We're probably going to lose more than one character. Cannot wait to see what happens next. I will say, I'd hoped for Sly Moore and Ars Dangor in this episode. But no, we just got mentions of them. Maybe they'll be showing up in this show, though. I would think maybe. I have no idea. But I really would like to see Palpatine's inner circle at some point. As for Palpatine himself, I don't know. Maybe we will see him addressing the Senate at some point. That'd be cool. I love it when Ian McDiarmid is on screen. Boy, does he steal the show. So I will be hearing you guys in episode 6, whatever the title is. I don't know yet because it hasn't aired. May the Force be with you, and have a great day.